Hi guys, this is Curls with Kels. My name is Kelsey and I am back. I know I normally film on Sundays, but I was at Cedar Point this past weekend and had an awesome time. I love roller coasters. It was so nice to go to Ohio, see some friends that I had there that I don't get to see very often, spend some time with them, bring some friends from home. It was a blast. It was sunny, great day for roller coasters. I got burnt, but it's all good. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. This week is porosity, hair density, and hair width, what those things are, and how to know, how to figure them out and all that jazz. As you can see, my hair is shorter than normal. I did get my hair cut today. We have a new stylist in town, and she's a diva stylist, and so I went to her. We've been going out to Pittsburgh, and my hairstylist out there was absolutely amazing. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, look up Kelly Elaine Curly Hair Salon and such. She's absolutely amazing, and I loved going to her, but the travel time to Pitt and everything was just getting a little too much for me and my schedule, so I had to change stylists. But anyway, so that's why it's shorter, and I'm loving it because, it's got a little more bounce and all that jazz. So, hair porosity. This is really one of the most important things when it comes to figuring out products, in my personal opinion. The porosity refers to the cuticle on the hair shaft and how closed it is or how open it is. So I'm going to tell you the 3 different porosities that you could have. Then I'm going to tell you how to figure out what you have. So low porosity is when the hair cuticles on the hair shaft are very tightly closed. So this would resemble like a pine cone that is not open, but it's very smooth, very closed. So with low porosity hair, you're going to want to make sure that you're not using products that are too heavy, like butters or stuff like that. And if you are, make sure you're not using too much of them because it can weigh your hair down. A lot of times those products actually don't get into the hair and they just sit on top, which would cause buildup and just weighing your hair down. Also, if you have low porosity hair, you're going to want to make sure your water is warm throughout your whole shower. Don't rinse with cold water because that's just going to close the cuticle. And if your cuticle is already closed, you already have trouble getting moisture into it and getting your products into your hair for them to actually do what they're supposed to do. So if you rinse with cold water, that's going to really seal your hair even more than what it already is. So you want to use that hot water or warmer hot water to open up the hair cuticle so that you can allow moisture in, allow your products in, allow them to do what they're supposed to do with that hair. So, and with low porosity, it's hard to get moisture in. That's why if you're deep conditioning, whatever, use heat to get that cuticle to open up, okay? But once you get moisture in, it's really easy to keep that moisture in because the cuticle is closed, so it's not going to let the moisture out. If you have medium porosity, you have some of your cuticles are open and some of them are closed. And this is a really good porosity, in my opinion, to have because it's very easy. You're kind of in the middle between low and high, so you can use products that work for both. You can kind of pick and choose which products you want to use because your hair's it's gonna work for both. So medium porosity, it doesn't let too much moisture in and it doesn't let too much moisture out. It's just kind of, allowing the right amount of moisture in. Finally, if you have high porosity hair, usually if you have high porosity hair, it's due to damage that has been done. So either by the sun, by heating tools like a straightening iron, Dyeing or bleaching your hair, that's all going to cause damage to the hair and make the porosity high. Because usually hair grows out of the scalp at low porosity, and then it's the damage and the wear and tear that makes it high porosity. So if you have high porosity, that means all of the cuticles on your hair shaft are open, and it's like a pine cone that you see that's not smoothed down, and it's all open. So it's very easy to get moisture into your hair, but it's very easy for moisture to be let out. That's why people with high porosity have a hard time keeping their hair moisturized, because the moisture can escape so easily. So if you have high porosity hair, you're going to be wanting to use heavier products. So things like butters and stuff like that. Ingredients that are going to help seal the cuticle down. You can also rinse out conditioners with cold water, which is going to help seal the cuticle down as well. And so that's high porosity. The way that I like to use to figure this out, it's not completely 100% correct, but it's pretty close, and it can give you an idea of what porosity you have. Is you can take some strands of clean, washed, dry hair with no products in them, get a glass of water, fill it about halfway full, and put the strands in the water. Now when you do this, you're going to want to dunk them into the water and break the surface tension, because if you just put the strands on top of the water, there's going to be surface tension there, and you're going to get a wrong result, because nothing's going to happen, because the hair is just going to sit on top of the water because of the surface tension. So dunk it in the water, break the surface tension, and then wait 2 to 4 minutes. Come back to the glass. If your hair has sunk to the bottom, that means it has soaked in a ton of water and you have high porosity hair. If your hair is still sitting at the top, you have low porosity hair. And if your hair is somewhere in the middle of the glass, you have medium porosity hair. And so that's how you figure out porosity. So now we move on to density. Density is a little bit, it has to do with the amount of strands that you have per square inch on your head. So if you have thin density, you have a small number of, or like not a lot of strands in a square inch square. And if you have high density, you have a lot of strands packed into 1 square inch. And so if you're medium density, you are in between, low and high density. So one way you can figure out this is the way that I personally like to use, but I'm going to give you 2 ways. You can look at your scalp. If you can see your scalp, like if you turn your head to the side and you can see your scalp, that means you have low density. If you can't see your scalp at all, like nothing, you have high density. I would consider myself medium density because I can see my part right here. I just don't think I have high density. Usually high density people have pretty thick hair, and it has a little bit more volume to it, and I just don't consider mine to be like that. So if you've got thin hair, you're going to want to make sure you're not using products that are going to weigh it down. And this gets tough if you take your porosity into account. So if you have high porosity but thin hair, you're going to need heavier products for the porosity, but not for the thin. So you kind of have to figure out a happy medium of like what's going to work as you wait for your porosity to change from high to low. Because once your hair grows out, you can cut the high porosity part off. And you're going to have, as long as it's not damaged, you're going to have that low porosity hair that has grown in from your scalp. So you just kind of figure out, what products. Now, if you've got high porosity with a high density, high density, you can use those heavier products because your hair doesn't get weighed down easily because there's a lot of it. So if you've got high porosity with high density, both of those are going to really work well together. So you kind of just figure out, all right, I've got this porosity and this density. This is what I know I need to use for each one. So let's figure out what's going to work best. So the last thing has to do with individual strand width. So each individual strand of hair has a certain width. If your strand is very, very small, you have fine. If your strand is wide, you have coarse. And then you're somewhere in the middle if you're not very small or very wide. And so this has to do with the internal structure of your hair. Fine hair needs more internal structure support than coarse hair. And I'll explain all of that in my next video. That's going to be on protein, because the protein really has to do with your hair strand width. I'm not going to get into that now because it's a very complicated subject, but that will be done in my next video, because I have a ton of people ask me about that. A ton of people ask me about it on, or post questions about it in a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and it's an ongoing question that's getting asked. So I'm going to do a video on it, but that's going to be next week. So the way you can figure out your width is this one is a little harder to figure out, but if you take a strand of hair and hold it up to the light, if you have a very hard time seeing it, you have fine hair. If you can see it very clearly, you have wide hair. But the problem with this is you have to take the color into account. Gray hair is going to be harder to see than brown hair. So just really, width is a little bit harder to figure out. My mom has like silvery light blonde hair, and she thought she had fine hair, but she actually has like medium to coarse hair. But it was the color that was throwing her off, making her think she had fine. So that one's a little bit hard to figure out, but that one's not, like, there are other ways to know if you need to support your hair with ingredients for its internal structure or not, that don't involve like figuring out if you have fine or coarse hair. So that will be talked about in my next video. So that'll be on protein. Protein will be my next video in the next coming week. So also, my stylist gave me this sample of Diva Wave Maker. I have it in today and I love it. I don't have any frizz. I've got some great curl definition through here, so it's really nice. I'm gonna use it a couple more times before I tell you guys how I like it, and so that will be coming up either in next week's video or 2 weeks from now. So I'd like a little more definition, but I think it's just the way that I applied this. I don't think it's the product itself that's not giving me the definition. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below. I'll also link my Instagram down there, and I'll link the website to Naturally Curly. They have a lot of blogs and articles that will help with porosity and density and hair width, and just with more information on that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week.